For years, politicians have Listen, for years, politicians have promised but never delivered. But along came a man by the name of J.B. Pritzker. J.B. Pritzker just doesn't.
AI agents. Well, hey, don't be scared. Here's how Monday.com makes agents clear, easy.
I do think that boys very often suffer from masculine norms that they're compelled to enact, especially if those norms are brutal or derisive or violent. They become something that is internally damaged. They become people who are internally damaged, and who hopefully one day can take responsibility for their actions and become a different kind of person. I mean, the problem with the approach is, of course, if the violence is against women, it's women and girls who are being hurt and damaged. So we need to pay attention there first. But if we take the point of view of reparative justice, right, then both parties would have to change or come forward with the story of their women, with the story of their damage, if it is women who are hurt, and men with a way of taking responsibility for what they've done, and trying to make amends. Sometimes it's boys who don't fit the norms, though, who are hassled in schools. They're seen as effeminate. They're not occupying masculine norms in the right way. And sometimes it's girls who are particularly strong who become a threat. It's hard for me to know. I haven't seen the television show, so I can't comment on that. But I am aware that there are a lot of lonely, enraged young men in the United States who voted for Trump. And I wondered whether that was a kind of incel community that was pro-Trump, full of rage and entitlement, and not understanding why they're not getting the sex they want or the connection they want, and who feel that the world is against them and it's the fault of feminism, or that women have become something other than what they wanted or knew. A lot of resentment, a lot of anger, a lot of isolation, a lot of connectedness to the internet and to other people whose anger and rage escalates one's own. So that is a masculine culture that I think we need to pay more attention to, and it's also a voting bloc. And they're going right. Yeah. They're going right. And they would love the caricatures of Kamala Harris that Trump offered.
In a second, let's talk about that sort of right-wing politics and how it connects there. But you're making me, we were talking there about rage and entitlement and these traits that when described in a person, you think, well, that person sounds distinctly unpleasant. That sounds like the sort of person I want to be around. That sounds like the sort of person I want to engage with.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about bell hooks. To create loving men, we have to love males. Let's apply that logic then to these enraged, possibly dangerous, unpleasant people. It feels so counterintuitive to be like, you need to love that person. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
And how do you see? I appreciate de-radicalization is an entire field of study. But how do you see accessing those people, helping those people? Can they be saved? And maybe I'm invoking the language of sort of evangelicals, which I don't mean to.
Yeah, I don't have an idea about how to approach those kinds of young men, and maybe they're older men as well. But I mean, I get it that they're suffering. I get it that they have a lack of entitlement, that they can't find their place in life. But maybe there's a social and economic explanation for what's happened to them. Like, how did they get so alienated? Why don't they have jobs that are fulfilling? Why aren't they more fully part of communities that would help them see other values? I think we need an historical analysis of that. And that means like suspending judgment. We're not just saying, oh my God, they're terrible people. We're asking, wow, how did that terribleness come about? And we're then at least providing a framework within which we can ask, how do we get them out of this? Or how can we make an appeal to them that would be different? I do think the answer to that, I'm going to shift this just a tiny bit, with the answer to the Christian right escalation of hatred. Hatred against trans people, hatred against the LGBTQIA plus movement, hatred against migrants, Christian nationalism as it links with white supremacy. I mean, there are other forms of Christians, and there are other forms of religion. And, you know, Christianity always had a doctrine of love, a kind of caritas, you know, like the love of humanity.
Agape, yeah.
Well, agape as well. And then it's like giving to others and being connected with others. But, you know, I remember going to a Catholic church as a young person. I grew up Jewish, but I was part of the anti-war mobilization as a young person. It was the Vietnam War. And I would go to this Catholic church every weekend to just listen to their anti-war rhetoric. It was beautiful. They had incredible lectures. They had singing, they had food. They talked about what it meant to be anti-war, and they mobilized. And I loved that community. But it stood for another set of values, as does the left-wing Episcopalian community in the U.S., which is providing the sanctuary network for migrants. So, you know, Christianity can go a lot of different ways, and so can religion. And I sometimes wonder whether we need to bring people back to a different understanding of their formations. That veers away from the young men.
Please, very, very, very happy for you to talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll sort of add a suffix to what you're saying, and then maybe we'll talk about sort of the connection between the radical right and sort of conservative ideas of gender. But as a British person, I do find sort of the strength of evangelism, like it's almost omnipresent, again, to invoke sort of theological terminology within American politics. It just seems so alien to me, so affronting, and maybe that's just sort of like latent Britishness in me. But I do know that certainly the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship, ARC, are trying to create a more Atlanticist, connected, evangelical conservative movement. And
wow.
there is this it's growing now here in the UK, which I didn't think I probably would ever see. Let's move on. Why do you think, or let's just talk about how sort of populism / the radical right does go hand in hand with a kind of conservative understanding of gender, if you could sort of kick us off from there.
Oh, well, I think that to the degree that the radical right is either evangelical or participates in a form of Christian nationalism, as it does not only in the U.S. but in places like Hungary, we see that gender is understood to be something that calls into question the primacy of the heterosexual family, the hierarchical and distinct differences between men and women, the God-given nature of sex, and all the social orders that are based on that, including civilization itself. So in some of the churches, gender ideology is actually described as demonic or diabolical, that it will destroy your way of life. And of course, my question is, well, maybe something is destroying your way of life, you know. Maybe your work is not as secure as it used to be. Maybe you don't even have a union anymore. Maybe you lost your job, or climate catastrophe has forced you to move and lose your initial place of dwelling and belonging. Maybe the world feels out of control for you. The oligarchical billionaires are getting richer, and more people are losing the capacity to own a home or make ends meet. There are all kinds of reasons to fear for the future, or to fear that your intimate world will be destroyed. I'm not sure gender is actually one of them. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not.
Yeah, I think it's the refrain I heard is, your landlord probably isn't a trans person. Do you know what I mean? The people that are enacting rentier capitalism,
yes,
are generally not the marginalized groups
yes,
we're talking about.
Right. But what we're seeing is not only targeting of the most vulnerable people in society, but we're holding them accountable for massive acts of destruction that have been undertaken by corporate power and have been authorized by deregulated capitalism in our time. So, it's our job to kind of come back and say, you know what? You know why you're afraid? You know why we're all afraid? You know why we're living with this anxiety that makes us so vulnerable to the demagogues? Here's some reasons, and this is the mobilization you need to be part of. But we do need to come back, and we have to find people where they're living in fear, in anxiety, in with a sense of loss, or a sense of real dread. I don't think the Democratic Party in the U.S. has the slightest idea of how to reach people at that level.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's probably a whole another hour's worth of conversation.
Yes. I think
in that one.
No, I think its responsibility is actually to shut itself down and let a new structure emerge.
Do you think?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it will never see that.
Yeah. Okay. So look, the arguments you're making, they're similar to ones that I would make, right? Which is, yeah, okay, you can blame a trans person, you can blame a migrant, you can take your pick, marginalized community, right? Or you can engage with a structural critique of capitalism, the economic and political system that has created the material conditions in which you live. And increasingly, when you look across the economically developed world, I would point to South Korea as probably the most striking example of this. There is now an increasing gender divide.
Yes.
In political interpretations and critiques. So in Korea, it's most explicit, where women are veering liberal, men are veering conservative. In the UK, it's far less pronounced, but there is still a gap between the two, particularly in the younger generation. Young men are less liberal than young women.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform made for anyone with an idea and a drive to bring it to life. Describe what you want and watch it take shape. You can plan, customize, and expand in any direction. From tools built for one to platforms ready for many. From passion projects to enterprise-grade systems. Everything is built in and ready to launch. It's a new world of creation where you can go as far as your imagination takes you. Can you imagine it? Let's make your dream a reality right now.
Websites your competitors don't want you to know, part 2. All you do is go to this website, and it lets you find out exactly how much your competitors are making by showing you how much traffic they're getting, where the traffic's coming from, and even which social media platform is driving the most visits. It has a complete breakdown of all the recent ads they've been running, what type of keywords they rank for, and even the top competitors in their space. If you want to see how they stack up against their competitors, all you do is add them here. And it breaks down all their traffic and engagement benchmarked against each other. And their new feature, which is a game changer, is called AI brand visibility. All you do is enter your website. Then it tells you exactly how AI is talking about your brand. Even the prompts that are bringing up the brand as the result. What's cool is this sentiment analysis that tells you if the AI says